Welcome, and thanks for joining me on the Ultimate 180 podcast. If you've ever felt exhausted, overwhelmed, or even trapped in your own life and wish that you could have a complete life makeover, then you are in the perfect place to learn how to pull an ultimate 180 and change your life beyond all expectations. I'm your host, Christina Walker, and today I'll be discussing the difficult and emotional topic of how to move forward in life when tragedy strikes, and how we can help others move forward too. And by tragedy, I mean anything in life that stops you in your tracks and prevents you from living your life under its current set of circumstances. So, I mean, this can vary in severity. It can be anything from the loss of a job, the loss of a home, a community, a debilitating health issue in yourself or a family member, loss of a loved one, or even a series of devastating losses. Anything that makes it feel like you just can't move forward as it once was. And because at some point, life must go on, bills must be paid, and how you can begin to move forward when you're living in such pain. Or perhaps you could help someone else who's going through this kind of pain. So I'll be sharing with you some insights as to why it's more difficult for some people to move forward than others, and the steps you can take when tragedy strikes so that you can continue to create a new version of life quicker and lessen some of the suffering. So, before I dive in, I just want to ask you a quick favor. If this episode at all sparks something inside you, whether it's hope, inspiration, or even just a little nudge to think differently, please take a split second to hit that follow button on your podcast app. It not only helps you stay connected to more life-changing insights, you will actually be helping more people by helping this podcast with a bigger reach, help people that might need a little help changing their life too. So let's get started as we navigate change together, 1 degree at a time. Let's do this. Life can be so unpredictable sometimes. Even if you are incredibly organized and the ultimate planner, life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. And it's just like the saying, shit happens. And sometimes that shit is life altering. So, what motivated me to cover this topic was really something that I unfortunately had to experience and witness in my own life. And working from this tragedy and witnessing how different people react and deal with life altering change, it really made me realize that I could potentially help more people through this process. Because I felt like if the more people that understood what happens to many of us when our life gets altered over a short period of time, then I would be able to help lessen the time it takes for people to get back to a newer, different normal. And because that's really what it is, it's going to be a different normal. And that in itself can decrease some of the pain and suffering because the loss itself is bad enough. And to be able to shorten the duration of time it takes to move forward in a newer, more comfortable normal can lessen that portion of pain and suffering. And because we all know the loss itself is really enough to contend with. So I really hope that this can help you in some way or help someone that you know. So my family and I have been through a lot of loss over the past 2 years. And we're talking about personal loss. It has been tragedy after tragedy. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's quite unbelievable. It's kind of amazing that, how like people, things just kind of group together in life. And I'm one of those people that like to reflect and say, what is it? What part of this am I playing? But this doesn't have anything to do with me. We are talking about loss of lives. And that's a lot of lives to lose in a very short period of time in our family and friends. And so, unfortunately, one of the most recent ones, we had a family member that was going through a lot and multiple life-altering illnesses over a very short period of time. And we had to get to this point where we realized that the care required for this person was going to be more than any of us could handle. And that's a very difficult place to get to in life with a loved one. And I'm sure many of you can identify with that experience, whether even if it was you in that position or a family member. And so it's interesting as we all kept pushing for solutions that would kind of anything that would be close, right? We all kind of wanted a solution that would help this person and all of us, the way around us, continue life on as closely as possible as the way that we've always lived. And because that's kind of human nature, right? We want things to go back to the way things are. That's how our brain works. That is a mechanism in our brain, and it's a safety mechanism. And it says, "Oh, I know this. I know this. I'm going to keep you safe. Let's go back and do this. Let's go back and do this." So, because we're dealing with multiple people in this situation, I started to more witness all of the different ways that people were trying to maneuver and make decisions to keep life back in the way that it's always been, especially for this person that was having a lot of issues. And the reality was is that life was never going to be the same. But our internal navigation system, that safety mechanism, right? It's constantly wanting to recalibrate. So sometimes you get people, you say, well, maybe this is a solution. And you hear them say, oh, yeah, maybe. And then they go right back to where they were. And you're thinking, what? Wait, did you not hear what I said? This might be a better solution. And it's really difficult because when you have multiple people working on the same solution, this happens in offices, right, all the time, and this happens in companies, you're all trying to get to the same solution and something bad has happened and you're witnessing people, and usually we're not witnessing people, we're dealing with it on our own, and everybody else is dealing with it on their own. But just the way my mind works, I became the witness to see this. And when decisions have to be made in times like that, because life doesn't always give you the time you need to make these decisions that give you the time that you would wish that you could make these decisions, right? The decisions had to be made. And that's when it really struck me that some people struggle more than others to move forward because their internal navigation system, right? That mechanism, that safety mechanism, that navigation system gets stuck on how it's always been. And some of us can get through that a little bit quicker. And we can get to the point where we're like, well, wait a minute, especially the farther we are away from the actual tragedy itself, right? We usually have a little bit more of a perspective. But some of us, regardless of where you are at in that reality, is that some of us get more stuck in our navigation systems. That's just kind of our navigation system doesn't move a lot in some of us. And some of us, we're very quick to be like a ship captain, right? We're like, okay, it's time to move on. Like we're gonna hit an iceberg. We better move, right? But that is why. And some people have a harder time, right, making these decisions and being able to move quickly and to move forward, and they get stuck in the things that it's always been this way, it's always been this way, I want this to be the way it's always been. But when these tragedies happen, life cannot look that way possibly ever again, or at least for a long period of time. And that's what happens, and that's when people start to break down and get really frustrated and feel really stuck and feel very lonely in what they're going through. And so it's helpful too if you can recognize when this happens to help people through it. If you can just recognize that they've got a stuck navigation system. And it's just like the ship analogy, right? And this sometimes helps people get out of it. If you go to a ship, right, and you realize that this storm has taken you way off course, and you need to re-navigate, right? You need to re-navigate quickly because guess what? You might not be able to go to your destination now. This is what happens when you have a tragedy in life, right? Let's say you are so off course that there is no way that you are going to get to that destination you wanted to get to, because life completely changed in a split second. And you've got to pick a new destination, and a new destination quickly. And that is what's important, because let's say there's a ship and it's navigating to the Bahamas from Florida. Actually, yeah, from Florida, going to the Bahamas. And something happens and they go way off course. And they only have so much fuel, and they only have so much food and so much clean water. And they have a choice to make. And they realize they cannot go back and get to the Bahamas, not in this condition. There, maybe never. Who knows if this boat's ever going to be able to be righted again? I don't know. But they know that they cannot get to the Bahamas. You will have people that will still say, "But we've got to get there. That's the way it's always been. That's our only destination." And that's what makes it so hard, because that's how these tragedies feel in our life. They feel like there's no other possibility than to try and make it as close as possible to that destination. And what we're not seeing is, if you look at the world map, what you're not seeing is there's a whole bunch of other destinations out there. And yeah, they might not look anything the same. But you know what? They can still be good. They can still be good destinations. But we have to be able to open our eyes and say, wow, okay, guys, we're not going to get there, or at least no time soon. We've got to right the ship and give it a new direction, or we're going to end up completely sinking. And that's when you hear of those really sad stories, like, an older couple and one of them passes away and the other one just dies of a broken heart. They just can't get that navigation system to get unstuck. They just can't see a life that's still a good life, that's not the same. And that is horrible. It's such a waste of this gift, because they're still here for a reason. You're still here for a reason. And even though we might have thought, wow, I saw in my mind's eye this life over here, and then something happens, health, your own health, somebody else's health, something devastating, a series of devastations, and you realize that's not going to happen. So there's some steps you can take, and this is what you can do whenever you're ready, right? And you're needing to make decisions, because everybody's going to be ready in a different time, and we have to allow for that. But a lot of times you have to make some decisions. They just have to be made. So there's 3 steps that I'm going to give you that I like to follow. Because again, I have been through too many tragedies. I mean, it is a comedy of tragedies, because it's just, how is this even possible? And I'm hoping that train has stopped because I'm a little done with it. But so what can we do for ourselves, and what can we do for others to navigate and get that navigation unstuck? So 1, we need to recognize that our new normal will look different, even temporarily. And we have to embrace that for a moment. We have to say, okay, everybody just stop. Life like that is not a possibility in the near future. And I always like to have hope that, you know what? Let's leave it open, that maybe someday it will. But right now, we need to acknowledge that life is not going to look the same, even temporarily. Okay? We have to get there. And if we're working with other people, we have to say this so gracefully, and give them the hope that, look, I know that you want life to look like it was. I know that person wants to look like the way it was. But right now, in order to get through this in the moment, we have to recognize that we've got to have it look just a little bit different for a while. a little bit different, right? Because that starts you on the path to navigating to a new destination. Is we have to recognize and acknowledge that things are going to look differently for a minute, maybe forever, but we don't have to tell other people that in the moment, right? They're dealing with a lot. And then number two, we need to reset and recalibrate our navigation systems. And we need to help others navigate and change, help them navigate. Because and asking the question, what would be better right now? So let me give you an example. So you've got a person, and this happened, you've got a person who had some health issues, and suddenly they can't walk anymore. And they can't function in the way that you're used to them functioning and they're used to functioning. And you realize, okay, I'm not capable of helping them. And my goal and their goal should be that they are living the best life they can in the moment right now. So, in order for them to do that, that can't be giving them expectations of what they once were, right? So, let's say somebody loses a leg. It'd be terribly, terribly catastrophic. And you're like, okay, well, I can't care for them right now because they have to go through rehab and they have to do all of these things. And I need to understand that they're not going to be maybe living with me for a little bit. And I want them to live in the best way possible in these moments while they're rehabbing, right? What does that look like? And helping that person, what does that look like? Okay, we know for a minute that you're not going to be able to be in the comfort of your own house, the comfort of your own food. I can't be there 24/7. There's, some of us still have to work and pay bills and do these other things or raise children. What is this? What does it look like for you to live in the best possible light that you can during this time? So would that be the best care facility? What would that look like? What would the best care be? What do you need emotionally? What do you need emotionally for support? Can I bring you people to brighten your day? What else? What activities? What thoughts? What future thoughts can we have together to make it through this together? What can we look forward to in the future? What can we just talk about in the future that's going to spark us to get excited about something of when you're back on your feet? And again, we don't know. We don't know if if somebody's ever going to be the same again. And potentially they never will. But what are we going to do together when all of this is over? Let's put our eye on something great. And that is your new destination. And that's how you can start to recalibrate of how we get there. How do we get there? We're going to take it one moment at a time. What do you need right now to feel the best you possibly can, to get the best help you can? And this goes for everybody in the scenario. These are all the loved ones around the person maybe that's having the tragedy, or maybe you're all going through the loss of somebody and all going through this tragedy. And so to look into the future and say, wow, I thought we were going to be together forever and do these things together. And now that person's not with us. So I've got to get my eye on a new prize. What's it going to look like for the ones that are still here to go do something different, to recalibrate just for a moment? Like, you know what? Well, we always knew someday we were going to do something else, something unrelated maybe. And put your eye on that prize, and it'll start to recalibrate something inside us. And I'm telling you, it's not like the pain is going to go away. The pain of that person or whatever's going on is not going to just go away. But what's going to happen is you're going to start recalibrating, and your life will start to shift in a better direction in a way that's going to get you to the next part of life, because you deserve, and all the people around you deserve, to have a wonderful life despite all of this tragedy. And this is the only way to get there. And number three is taking one tiny step at a time. one teeny tiny step at a time towards the new destination. That means one phone call. That could mean one big breath. That could mean thinking about something differently for the first time in 30 years. It's just one step, just one step. So it's recognizing that we've got to embrace a new normal for even if it's temporary. We have to. There's no other choice. You have to. And then we need to reset and recalibrate, right? Or help somebody recalibrate by what would be one little thing that would make life a little easier or better right now. One little thing. Would it be helpful if people brought you food or that person food? Would it be better if you started using a service like an Instacart or a DoorDash or something, take something off your plate? That's a move. That's definitely helping you reset so that you can say, okay, I can't deal with these certain things. I need help with my laundry right now. So I don't have to think about that, right? Just little things to recalibrate so that you can start focusing on that new destination for a moment. And 3 is just one simple step, one tiny little micro step towards the direction of the new destination. So you recalibrate and you can move forward in life. And like I said, some people can move quicker than others, and some